Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Universities of Wisconsin Board of Regents meeting. The Universities of Wisconsin are committed to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. It is our expectation that the audience will allow our proceedings to occur without disruption. Okay, moving on. Any disruptions to the event will be handled swiftly with responsible individuals subject to disciplinary action or other citations for the disruption. UW-Madison students involved will be referred to the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards. With that, Megan, could you please call the roll?
Regent Bogus. Regent Weatherly.
Here.
Regent Adams.
Present.
Regent Adongo.
Here.
Regent Cologne.
Here.
Regent Goydom.
Here.
Regent Cruiser.
Present.
Regent Manny-Dietz.
Here.
Regent Nixon.
Here.
Regent Peterson.
Here.
Regent Prince.
Here.
Regent Rye.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Salzwedel.
Here.
Regent Trainer.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Tyler.
Here.
Regent Underley.
Here.
And Regent Walsh.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Megan. As we consider items on today's agenda, are there board members who wish to declare any conflicts of interest regarding today's open session agenda? Okay. Hearing none, let's proceed. The records of the January 7th, 2025 and January 25th, 2025 special meetings of the UW System Board of Regents have been provided. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. Again, welcome everyone. I'd like to open by saying thank you to Chancellor Mnuchin and her team for their great generosity and hospitality in hosting this meeting. Last night, Madison hosted a lovely reception at the Wisconsin Discovery Building, and there were optional tours of the new Computer Data Informational Science Building. And for any of those of you who still have not seen that building, it's a work in progress. It's absolutely stunning. And we are all so excited, and I went on a tour, and it's really beautiful. I really encourage people, all the regions, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure the Chancellor's office would be happy to set up a tour. So, now to start things off, I believe President Rothman has some updates and some introductions. President Rothman.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. We do have some introductions, and I'd like to start by turning the floor over to UW-Platteville Chancellor Tammy Abetovich. Chancellor.
Is this on? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to introduce you to our new Vice Chancellor for Administration and Finance. I'm going to ask Jana to stand up. Jana Steinmetz joined us on November 11th and has been a great addition to my team. I'm so happy with the work that she's already doing. She comes to us from a lot of work that she did with the DOA, most recently enterprise operations, and just brings a wealth of experience. I think she has 26 years of working for the DOA. So she is very used to managing complex organizations, and we are complex. So that was a criterion for me. And I also want to point out that she is a UW-Platteville alumnus, so we are thrilled to welcome her home.
Next, Chancellor Andy Levitt has some introductions as well and some new roles at UW-Oshkosh. Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to say goodbye to a great colleague and welcome to a new colleague. Last week, I announced that the UWO Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, Bob Roberts, plans to step down from his position on June 30th. We will miss Bob, and we thank him for his tireless service to UWO over the last 13 years. He has served in a host of leadership capacities through a series of challenges universal to higher ed and some unique, of course, to UWO. Many of you know Bob, certainly our cadre of Universities of Wisconsin CBOs do, and I cannot say enough about the leadership he supplied UWO through a lot of that change. He has a remarkable resume in service of Wisconsin. He has been a law enforcement officer, police chief, a municipal manager, and held roles as a faculty member, grants officer, and administrator at multiple universities in Wisconsin. Again, Bob and the expertise he shared will definitely be missed. To ensure continuity, and of course Bob and I would be stepping out on the same day, and that's probably not a very good idea, I asked Corey Finkelmeyer to serve as acting Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, and he began that role on February 1st. Corey, if you could please stand. Corey joined UWO in 2023 as an internal consultant in that division. He has already helped us manage any number of projects and transformations within the university. Corey previously had a successful career in the Wisconsin Department of Justice, managing high-profile cases, complex legal issues, and a large staff as a veteran attorney and executive. This included representing and advising the universities of Wisconsin on any wide range of matters. So we look forward to working with him and in his acting role through the transition to UWO's next chancellor. Thank you.
I'll turn it back to President Provost.
Thank you very much. I would also like to note that tomorrow morning, we will recognize the service of a former colleague, Regent Emeritus Bob Atwell, with a resolution of appreciation. Next up, a report from the Wisconsin Technical College System Board has been provided. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Next, I have an update to share on several ongoing chancellor searches. Starting with UW-Milwaukee, semifinalist candidates have now been identified by the Search and Screen Committee, and we expect semifinalist interviews will be conducted later this month. Finalist candidates will then be invited to continue in the process with a public announcement regarding those candidates scheduled for mid-March. The finalists' on-site visits and interviews will happen at UW-Milwaukee the week of March 24th. And I'm wondering if Regent Prince, if you are fearless leader of that committee, if you want to add to that update.
I don't have anything to add, I don't think, except that the committee is very excited around our semifinalists, and we look forward to bringing someone before this board for approval, and hopefully you will be as excited as we are when that process ends. So thank you.
Thank you, Regent Prince. Meanwhile, the UW-Oshkosh Chancellor Search and Screen Committee is currently reviewing applications to determine semifinalists who will be interviewed next month. An announcement of the finalist candidates will then be made by early April, with the on-site visits and interviews scheduled at UW-Oshkosh the week of April 7th. So we're making significant progress on both these fronts, and it looks like the end of March and early April will be busy and newsworthy. To accommodate these many search activities, we'll be canceling the Board of Regent meetings scheduled on April 10th and 11th in Madison. Instead, we will plan to hold virtual meetings of the board and its standing committees on Tuesday, April 15th, and Wednesday, April 16th. Please save those dates in your calendar. On a related note, just as we encourage our staff and students to experiment and innovate, I believe the board should do the same. This upcoming year, the board will try something new by shifting to a quarterly in-person meeting schedule with monthly virtual meetings in between. Our goals are to continue to conduct our business efficiently, utilize staff time and resources effectively, and still provide opportunities throughout the year to visit the campuses and have meaningful face-to-face discussions. More details on the updated schedule will be available soon. We look forward to seeing how it goes, and I welcome your feedback as we continue to experiment and new ways to work together. And as I emphasize, this is an experiment, so I would love feedback, and you can tell me what you think. You can be honest as well. So, turning now to our Region Business Partnership Awards, we continue to recognize how UW universities are building strong relationships with businesses in support of our students and communities. Last week, awards were presented recognizing the long-standing collaboration between the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce and UW-Eau Claire. Businesses in the Chippewa Valley are hungry for talent, and UW-Eau Claire is a big part of that solution, producing more than 2,000 career-ready graduates each year. The Region Awards were presented at the 110th Annual Chamber Meeting attendance by more than 400 area business people and employees. Actually, I found out it was 517 people were there. Regent Walsh, President Rothman, and I all had the pleasure of attending this event, and I can tell you it was very, very impressive. I believe we have a very brief ad that UW-Eau Claire prepared to mark the occasion. Let it roll.
Berea Chamber of Commerce for being honored by the Universities of Wisconsin Board of Regents for collaborating, innovating, and striving for excellence alongside UW-Eau Claire for more than a century.
Great. This ad will be running this month on WEAU TV and on Eau Claire's social media platforms. Tomorrow morning, we will start our day with a presentation of Regent Business Partnership Awards to American Family Insurance and UW-Madison. This is a decades-long partnership based on innovation and collaboration. Connections with American Family touch all aspects of campus, including research, educational programming, student scholarships, endowed faculty chairs, and much more. We look forward to that presentation tomorrow. That concludes my report for today, and I'll now turn things back over to President Rothman.
Great, I'll start my report today with an update on a number of outreach initiatives we have been engaged in to support our biennial budget ask and in line with the goals of our overall strategic plan. In recent weeks, we've had the opportunity to meet with the Madison Rotary Club, the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce, and just yesterday, the Home Group, which is an independent group of young business leaders and entrepreneurs focused on strengthening the economy in the state. I also had a robust conversation with the new business journal editor, the Milwaukee Business Journal editor-in-chief, Timothy Gibbons, at their Power Breakfast event last week in Milwaukee, which included several hundred members of the local business community. At these events, and pretty much everywhere else we go, we are sharing our clarion message that the universities of Wisconsin should not be considered an expenditure, but rather a vitally important investment in the future of our state. When our public universities are strong, Wisconsin is stronger. As you may have heard me say at least once or twice, I remind people that we are currently ranked 43rd out of 50 states in public funding for our four-year public universities. A telling, and in my judgment, a disturbing indication that the universities of Wisconsin have been neglected for far too long. We need to do better for our students and for their parents, and by extension, for the people of the state of Wisconsin. Budgets reflect priorities. To win the ongoing war for talent here in the state is going to take public funding that helps us be competitive and gets us up to the middle in terms of funding per student, and that's what our budget asks that this board approve would achieve. We all know, sitting in this room today, that education unlocks opportunities and helps our state compete. It is good for the individuals, it is good for our communities, and it is good for the entire state of Wisconsin. We know that education changes the trajectory of people's lives. It's just that simple. Well, we are advocating to the best of our ability, and we will continue to do so. And I believe our message is compelling. We are also, by necessity, considering those steps that would become requisite if our request for additional funding does not get the support we are asking for. In spite of some of the narrative out there, I remain optimistic. The response to our message of the importance of investing in our universities has been gratifying and supportive. Like me, many Wisconsin residents are not happy to be in the bottom 10 in the nation for public funding for our universities, particularly when all of our neighboring states, Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan, are in the top 10. Wisconsin is ranking in the bottom 10. We know that when we fall behind educationally, we will fall behind economically and in a lot of other areas. And it goes so much more than just the economics. Survey data show that our graduates are more likely to be involved in philanthropic endeavors and more active in their communities generally, and active in our democracy. We also know that education deepens our appreciation for the arts and those things that help define the human experience. not to mention the groundbreaking research that goes on at our universities that leads to advancement that improves our world. Since last fall, I have been traveling the state, reaching out to the Wisconsin business community, asking them to support publicly the universities of Wisconsin and our call for increased funding by signing a letter that we intend to forward to the Wisconsin lawmakers later this year. I've also been pleased and have worked with the chancellors in collecting signatures and gathering support as well, and they have been working diligently toward that end. It is clear from the responses that Wisconsin's business community gets that being 43rd out of 50 is simply not good enough. To date, we have had hundreds of business and community leaders sign on to our letter of support, asking for increased funding for our universities. As you'll see in this graphic, when the graphic comes up, we have also received support from chambers of commerce and other business organizations and groups across the state. These organizations represent thousands of businesses throughout the state, and you can see it goes from Superior all the way down to Kenosha and east and west and north and south. Our chancellors are carrying the message in other ways as well. Starting next week, you'll start to see videos from our new Mascots on Main initiative on social media, where our chancellors will be joined by their UW mascot to visit with local businesses to celebrate the mutual support between our universities and the business community. That is about as good a win-win proposition as we can get, in my judgment. Each university will be telling its own story in its own way, as it should. To offer a sneak peek, I'd like to show a brief video featuring our colleagues at UW-Platteville, UW-Whitewater, and UW-Stevens Point. I want to call your attention as you view the video to the new co-brand and constellation graphics associated with each university. You'll be seeing a lot more of these going forward as we embark on our more collaborative messaging and initiatives covering all 13 of our great universities in the state.
We came here today to just talk to our business and industry partners about their support for the UW and the great partnerships we have with every single one of those people who support UW-Platteville, but in general just support our students and hire our students, and we're very proud of our partnership and that we're filling that workforce need, and they're helping us as well support our students. So it's a great partnership for us.
Our relationship with Platteville is just they are the drivers of Southwest Wisconsin in our community. So whenever they're doing great, we're doing great. So we're a family-owned business and community-driven. So us being able to support them is a big deal to us, and we just want to make sure our partnership stands for a long time to come.
Corey's been a great supporter of UW-Platteville. He hires our graduates, but he also supports us in some of the clothing that he prints for us, and has been a donor as well to the university, and we're very grateful for that.
WCC Brands and Wisconsin Clothing Company proudly supports the Universities of Wisconsin and University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
We are here at First Citizens State Bank with our friend and colleague, Jim. Jim, welcome. Well, thank you for having us.
Down to be with us. This is a real pleasure.
Thank you, Jim, and your team. I mean, what First Citizen does for the university, the commitment you have in so many different spaces, employing our students, providing scholarships, sponsorships.
It's a wonderful partnership. We look forward to many, many years of working together and seeing the organization thrive. As you thrive, we thrive.
Primarily started out as a fly fishing store with the amazing heritage and lineage that we have here in Stevens Point. It's really kind of molded into more of a hybrid store where we carry more outdoor clothing, outdoor camping goods, gear. Since we've been in business since 2018, UWSP has been just an absolute integral part of what we've been able to do here. From not only the students that we've had work here at Fall Line through those years, but also once those students graduate, continue relationships that we have with them, maybe here in Wisconsin, or a lot of those students actually go to different states too, and so they're always carrying that Pointer pride and a part of Fall Line with them as well.
I didn't study business when I was at the university, but since being a manager and working as a manager of the store here, I feel like I've been using like all of the skills I gained at the university.
It continues to be an excellent feeder, again, for employees to work in an outdoor store as well, because a lot of the degree programs have to do with the outdoors. So it's just been an absolute blessing in disguise for us when we established our business back in 2018 to be located here in Stevens Point and have the partnership with UW-SB.
The university brought me here, and my life kind of came together here, and decided that, you know, Stevens Point had everything I was really looking for without knowing it. And so I've built my life around living here.
Fall Line Outfitters supports the Universities of Wisconsin.
Just a couple of notes. One, our chancellors are very good sports. Secondly, Tom, I was surprised to see you when putting on Platteville blue or whatever it was. I just noted that. And just to show you some of the power, you may have remember there were a group of people in the video on Whitewater. All of those were Whitewater alumni. And I think it just shows the power and that mascots do sell, and I've had some convincing to go down that route, but I believe it, and I think you can see that power. So I really like to thank our chancellors for participating in this effort. And each week as we go forward, we'll highlight mascots from Maine from a different University of Wisconsin. And I hope you'll check it out, and more importantly, I hope you will share it, because that social media, those sharing of those have an impact as we try to tell our story. You know, the success that we're building on our joint effort faculty shoutouts that we did last year that had more than 300,000 views. I mean, that's a lot of views if we're trying to change public perception of our universities, and it shows how strong and powerful these collaborative efforts can be. And we will continue to do more of these types of efforts. In fact, we'll be doing a second round of faculty shout-outs later this spring, because I think those are particularly powerful when the students are talking about the impact that a particular faculty member has had on their life. And I think we can all relate to that, but hearing that and seeing that, it's no longer a statistic, it becomes an individual story, which is important. Meanwhile, our branding and awareness campaign also continues, and you'll soon be seeing new assets all across social media, hammering home the notion that an investment in the UWs continues to be an investment in our state now and for future generations. We also plan to share testimonials that we're gathering from our alumni who continue to speak to the power and value that the universities of Wisconsin hold for all of us in the state. Next, I have several updates from the federal and state and federal fronts, and let me start on the state side. The 25-26 legislative session began on January 6th with the state's inauguration day. We are now entering the start of the biennial budget season, and we are focused on legislative advocacy efforts concerning the budget request that this board approved and for the universities of Wisconsin, which, as you all know, includes an $855 million increase in our operating budget, as well as a substantial request for capital dollars. The Governor's State of the State address was delivered on January 22nd. In his speech, Governor Evers provided a preview of some of his priorities for the 25-26 legislative session, in which he highlighted some key areas expected to be part of his budget proposal, such as mental health and child care funding. The governor's budget address will be delivered on February 18th, after which the governor's budget proposal will be officially introduced. The governor's capital budget proposal will be separately introduced shortly thereafter. From there, the Joint Finance Committee of the legislature will begin its budget deliberations. Our focus as it relates to the universities of Wisconsin is to ensure the legislature recognizes the value our universities bring to the state and the need for continued and increased investment so that we can continue to provide world-class education for the people of the state of Wisconsin. I am having ongoing conversations in the Capitol with legislators in that regard. Since we met last, there is now a newly created Assembly Committee on Government Operations, Accountability, and Transparency, which will be known as the GOAT Committee. The committee is chaired by Representative Amanda Netwisky and is expected to review the efficiency of the universities of Wisconsin as well as other state operations. The chair, Representative Netwisky, has indicated that our universities will be a focus of the committee's work. You may recall that Representative Netwisky chaired the study committee from this past summer. Finally, the final report and recommendations of that legislative study committee on the future of the University of Wisconsin system, and I say that because it's in quotes, was released on January 28th. The report summarizes the committee's 5 hearings and the results of 2 ballots that occurred in the committee. The committee will meet in the coming weeks to accept officially the report and the recommendations. On the federal side, the significant news, of course, has been the various actions announced by the new Trump administration. With an already fast-moving policy agenda being rolled out, I've asked my team to establish a group, and they have done so, to facilitate timely communications and provide rapid response support and guidance to all of our universities. The resulting Federal Updates Working Group is coordinating on a proactive basis our unified response to matters ranging from anticipated and proposed federal legislative actions to regulatory changes and presidential executive orders. The working group, which consists of colleagues from across the Universities of Wisconsin administration, will lead our analysis, research, and response by providing regular updates, action requests, and communication resources. Each of our universities has a liaison between the working group and the university's leadership, and each university's leadership team, helping to coordinate each respective university's recommendations and decisions on policy actions and internal communications. The focus is to get the group together to make sure we are sharing the most recent information we have and to ensure that we are providing consistent responses and actions where that is appropriate as we deal with some unprecedented actions that are ongoing, many of which lack clarity in terms of exactly what is being asked of us. So this will continue to develop. We are particularly focused on 2 areas that I think are of most pressing concern to us around funding, and that includes student financial aid and research dollars. And when you look at the impact that the federal budget has on our universities and the money that we get from the federal government, this is a very, very critical issue, and one that we will continue to work hard both to monitor, to comply where we are required to comply, but also to advocate on behalf of our universities, both with our state delegations as well as through our national organizations as we move forward, because this could have very significant impacts on our universities, and we're going to do everything we can to protect the great asset that the universities are to the state of Wisconsin. Turning to my regular update now on some facet of our strategic plan, I am pleased to share that 3 proposals to receive 2024 UW Innovation Grants were recently announced. The UW Innovation Grant is an annual competition, although it was spread over 5 years from 2023 to 2028, which is the span of the strategic plan. And this competition really aims to develop and apply advancements in human knowledge and promote economic prosperity in the state of Wisconsin. It provides grants for innovation that is available to all of our universities. The competition, which again is part of our strategic plan, provides 3 winning proposals each year with 2 years of seed funding to develop those proposals. After that time, a review panel will select a big idea winner from among the 3 to receive additional funding to further support their work over the next several years. I just wanted to share with you the 2024 recipients. First is Dr. Stephen Gerard of UW-Whitewater for his proposal to produce better, more cost-effective coatings for superalloys exposed to high temperatures and for glass and ceramic coatings for biomedical implants. Some of the great work that's going on at UW-Whitewater. Second grant is to Dr. Charlotte Sortedal of UW-Eau Claire and Dr. Min de Grusen of UW-Stout, a joint proposal, a collaborative proposal, which is one of the things we encouraged. And those two folks are working on a proposal that builds on a partnership that started in 2023 to bring together engineering and nursing students to improve the packaging of sterilized medical devices. The proposal that they'll be working on seeks to improve patient safety, environmental sustainability, and economic efficiency. And the final award goes to Doctors Anja Blecking, Anna Benko, and Alexander Arnold of UW-Milwaukee for their proposal to create a new pathway for high school graduates and students who discontinued a STEM program. And this will allow them to enter a local STEM workforce by developing an 8-week paid summer internship program that trains students as chemical technicians. Again, not a degree program, but something that business and industry needs. And I think a great piece of innovation by those professors at UW-Milwaukee. All of our innovation grant recipients are doing exciting and important work, and we wish them all the success in the world. Finally, I'd like to call your attention to another collaborative effort that's going on relating to the recently announced dual degree programs involving UW-La Crosse and UW-Platteville. The innovative set of articulation agreements offers students a seamless pathway to earn a Bachelor of Science in Physics from UW-La Crosse and a Bachelor of Science in either Civil Engineering, Electrical Engineering, Industrial and Systems Engineering, or Mechanical Engineering from UW-Platteville. Students participating in this collaborative program will complete 3 years of coursework at UW-La Crosse, followed by 2 years of specialized study at UW-Platteville. Upon completion, those students will graduate with 2 prestigious degrees, one a Bachelor of Science in Physics and another a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, which will position them for success, we believe, in a very competitive job market. It's another way that the universities of Wisconsin are meeting the needs of both our students and the great businesses in our state. And that concludes my report today. Back to you, President Bogost.
Thank you very much, President Rothman. Regents, before we move on, do you have any questions or comments for President Rothman's report? Okay. Now we'll turn the floor over to our host, Chancellor Mnuchin.
Thank you so much, Regent President Bogost, and good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank all of the regents, along with President Rothman, for your steady leadership and support in what is, by any measure, a somewhat challenging time in higher education. Here at UW-Madison, it's been a year of both incredible accomplishment and significant challenge. We have much to be proud of, and I will share some highlights. And at the same time, as we look forward, there are substantial uncertainties and some dark clouds on the horizon, and I will speak of some of those as well. But let me begin with a brief story. Last fall, we hosted around nearly 600 people in this space and the adjoining, dedicated alums, campus leaders, and students who got to hear from the amazing John and Tasha Morgridge, who shared with us a time-tested principle that they aim to live by. Plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. Plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. A wonderful metaphor that captures not only the Morgridge's legacy of extraordinary generosity here at UW and throughout the state, but also something important about what this university contributes to Wisconsin and the world. And it reminds us, in challenging times in particular, that even as we manage those day-to-day challenges, we have to be playing the long game. Just like last month, we began the process of creating a new strategic framework for the university's next chapter to help us keep planting the right trees at the right times in the right places. But we're not waiting for a full plan in order to lay the groundwork for success. So in addition to talking about some of the challenges we're facing, I'm also going to talk about some of the trees we're planting. Some will grow more slowly than others and need more nourishment, but all are critical to our long-term strength. But first, a few words of gratitude. This year, with your help and the dedicated commitment of our truly outstanding faculty and staff, we've continued to build our already outstanding reputation. A few quick highlights. We were named the #1 public university in the nation by the Washington Monthly. Now, I will always tell you to take rankings with a grain of salt, and that holds for this one too. But I will note that we do rather like this ranking, not only because we did well, but because it's based on contribution to the public good, including the social mobility of our graduates. We were also the #1 school of education in the country, according to US News. And in addition, our undergraduate program in computer science jumped up 6 spots to #9 among publics and #16 overall in those US News rankings, which, yes, you should take with a grain of salt. But that was the biggest leap among the top 25 schools. And last spring, Forbes included UW-Madison on its list of 10 public Ivies. And so by many reputational measures, 2024 was a very good year. I've also just gotten word that we've again set a new record for undergraduate applications. We've had a double-digit percentage increase over last year's record-breaking 70,000 applications. I can't yet reveal a precise total, as we're still finalizing those figures, but a big shout out to our admissions team, who had to read well over 140,000 student essays this season, a project that is still in process. We also conferred a record number of degrees and a record number of degrees in STEM fields. And thanks to programs like Bucky's Pell Pathway and Bucky's Tuition Promise, 2/3 of our undergraduate students graduated with 0 student debt. We are also in something of a building boom. Some of you donned hard hats yesterday to see one of our amazing new facilities, and I'll tell you about a few others in a few minutes. And our friends and supporters are investing in us. Last year was the second biggest fundraising year in our history, and we're going to work hard to keep that momentum going. It was also the year in which the state of Wisconsin won millions of dollars in federal funding as a Phase 2 tech hub, with UW-Madison and the universities of Wisconsin as key partners to build out further our national leadership in biohealth and personalized medicine. And we at UW-Madison set a new record for research expenditures, moving from $1.3 billion in 2019 to $1.7 billion in 2023, as was announced last November. As you know, I guess I already talked about all of those. Sorry, I'm behind on the slides. As you know, this growth allowed us to meet the goal of moving up in the Herd research expenditure rankings from #8 to #6. And our growth rate was second only to UNC among the top 10. Now I have to note, there's very little daylight between us and #5 right above us, and #7 and 8 right below. Really, it's very close to a tie there. Those numbers can certainly fluctuate, but still, we were pleased to flip over both UCLA and UCSD compared to the previous year. Now, we don't know at this point how the new administration's policies will affect these federal grants going forward, but we can assume that there may well be a loss, perhaps a substantial loss, of federal dollars. And that takes me to the federal transition, which does pose significant threats to some important aspects of our mission and operation, as is true for universities across the nation. I'm going to focus on one aspect of the federal transition, and that is the risks and uncertainties to our research mission. A quick summary of where we are for those who aren't following the blow-by-blow. The Federal Office of Management and Budget issued a memo on January 27th, directing federal agencies to pause most financial assistance including the federal grant funding that makes most of our research possible, while they reviewed programs receiving federal dollars to assess their alignment with the president's priorities and compliance with recently issued executive orders. This was the result of part of a flurry of executive orders and directives relevant to federal funding across the board, including to higher education, with a particular focus on anything linked to DEI, apparently broadly construed, but also undefined, as well as to aspects of climate change. The speed and breadth and quantity of these developments has been dramatic, to say the least. For those few days, we at UW-Madison received a number of stop work orders on specific grants, as well as some broader orders from several agencies, including the NSF, the National Science Foundation, that told us to assess whether our grant work complied with the executive orders. But that assessment contained absolutely no definition of critical terms, including what exactly did or didn't count as DEI, or what would or wouldn't be seen as part of the Green New Deal. Then, last Friday, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order that formally paused that freeze. So the freeze was now frozen on spending, providing what amounts to at least a temporary reprieve. But whatever happens with the executive orders of those first few days, the real point is that there is significant risk for our federal funding going forward. We may see a disconcerting clawback of some already awarded but unspent grant funding, especially in areas linked to DEI and sustainability. We will almost certainly see some significant shifts in funding priorities going forward. That, of course, is not unexpected with a new administration, which can come in with its new priorities. But it may well be more dramatic than has been typical over the last several decades, even when there were changes in party. It also seems possible, and indeed, I fear perhaps likely, that we will see significant overall cuts to federal science and research funding. And any or all of those changes will have a significant and deleterious effect on us here at UW-Madison. For our research enterprise, that could mean a potential loss of many tens of millions, or possibly even hundreds of millions of federal dollars that support the research that we do. Federal grants are our single largest source of revenue here at UW-Madison. They make up about 25% of our total funding, and they fuel a good deal of the world-class research we do to innovate for the public good. Across our institution, to just put this in perspective, we spend an average of about $18.8 million in federal research funding every week. That's the lifeblood of cancer research to develop better treatments and move us closer to cures, of biomedical research to engineer new therapies for disorders like diabetes and Alzheimer's disease, agricultural research to help Wisconsin farmers produce high-quality fruits and vegetables and meats and dairy products that feed not only our state, but the nation and beyond, and research on renewable energies to help us build a more sustainable planet, to name just a few of the areas that this research supports. All of this and more are at potential risk. More broadly, if agencies like NSF and the NIH face significant staffing and funding reductions, our collective research and innovation ecosystem, which has long been a source of envy and admiration across the globe, could be deeply destabilized all across the country, including for us at UW-Madison. Now, to be clear, at this moment, this is a serious risk, but not a certainty. But part of the challenge of the moment is the degree of uncertainty that we are facing. I've directed a working group on emerging federal issues, a team of experts locally and in DC to help us track and assess relevant changes. And we're also working with the system as we assess what's coming. Our responsibility over the weeks and months ahead will be to ensure that we're taking appropriate action to comply with federal laws and directives, while also preserving our mission, as well as staying true to our core commitments, including our commitment to evidence-based research, to freedom of speech and academic freedom, to fearless sifting and winnowing, to supporting fairness, opportunity, and respect for the human dignity of all members of our community. In the short term, we've asked faculty and staff on federally funded projects to continue their important work unless they receive a specific stop work order, in which case they certainly must comply. But also to be cautious about making new commitments with federal funds, given the degree of uncertainty we face. But our other responsibility is to continue to do all in our power to plant those trees for the future, even amidst challenges and uncertainties. So in the rest of my time with you, I will talk about 3 such trees. First, the first tree is growing a bigger, stronger research and innovation ecosystem, fueled by cross-disciplinary collaboration. This is, I think, the secret sauce of RISE, which I announced here 1 year ago. That's our campus-wide initiative to look at grand challenges facing Wisconsin and the world, and to grow our faculty in a targeted way that builds upon our existing strengths to create new opportunities for our students and accelerate discovery. When we met last year, we had one RISE initiative to announce, RISE AI, to expand our already excellent work in a space with tremendous possibilities and tremendous concerns, as many of you heard on the excellent education panel this morning. We now have 3 RISE initiatives, RISE AI, RISE Earth, broadly focused on sustainability, and RISE Thrive, broadly focused on health span. How do we help people live not just longer lives, but healthier lives? They're already generating some extremely exciting new collaborations among faculty who might not have worked together in the past, and inviting a more strategic way of thinking about opportunities to build on areas, including areas where we are already strong. As an example, faculty at our School of Pharmacy and our School of Medicine and Public Health are collaborating on groundbreaking work on pancreatic cancer. One of the reasons that the survival rate for this cancer is so low is that we don't have a good way to break through the dense matrix of connective tissue that surrounds these tumors. It's a barrier to using the kinds of immunotherapies that are promising with many other cancers. So our researchers are experimenting with using a strain of E. coli that's particularly good at slipping through this protective cage, and they're using it to deliver nanodrugs to target the cancer. This is early stage research. Potential human clinical trials are still some time away. But in trials with mice, the drugs are delivered to the right spot, and they're delaying tumor growth and significantly extending survival. It's just one example of the exciting interdisciplinary work that's happening here, and that initiatives like RISE Thrive are going to let us build out further with investments, leadership, and more faculty. And here's one more. This one's a crossover between RISE AI and RISE Thrive. Faculty in radiology and biomedical engineering are using AI to examine large numbers of medical images of glioblastomas, which are lethal brain tumors that are especially aggressive in men, and that also tend to behave differently in women from in men who have them. They're using their findings to create a new tool to identify the unique characteristics of each patient's tumor, to help oncologists determine the best treatment options. And at the same time, we have faculty in biostatistics and medical informatics looking closely at the limits of AI in medicine and developing statistical methods that can help us avoid some of the problems that algorithms can introduce when those algorithms are making inferences based on incomplete information. So we're pushing the boundaries of personalized precision medicine and paying close attention to the potential pitfalls of AI, sifting and winnowing at the frontiers of advanced genomics. When we launched Rise here a year ago, we hadn't yet made a single hire. Today, we have 30 new Rise faculty on campus or arriving soon, and an additional 15 committed for next year. And that number is growing every month, all across our institution, from the School of Engineering to SOHI, from Letters and Science to the law school, as we build toward the goal of 120 to 150 new hires above and beyond normal faculty hiring to propel this initiative and our innovation ecosystem forward. A year ago, there was excitement about the initiative, but I also heard from some people, I don't know, this isn't going to work. We don't really have the infrastructure to support an initiative of this magnitude. To which I said, well, let's try anyway. And indeed, Rise is compelling us to look with fresh eyes at our infrastructure and services. We're identifying gaps we need to fill, as well as synergies with non-Rise projects, including the campus-wide sustainability initiative that I talked about last year to address the environmental impact of our campus. For the first time, we have set specific targets, and we're identifying new ways to weave sustainability into the curriculum. And I'll give you just one quick example you might even have walked past on your way this morning. This is Oscar, named for Oscar the Grouch, and it's a new AI recycler that we're piloting, and you might have seen him on your way up. It's one key player in helping us reach our goal of zero waste by 2040. He's not quite operational yet, but soon he's going to be able to scan an item that you're holding and tell you where to put it in case you don't know. And if you put it in the wrong place after scanning it, Oscar will turn red. Now, in a very UW way, the faculty are already weaving Oscar into some research and class projects. For example, they're doing experiments to test what motivates people to recycle properly. Which works better? An interaction like a dancing badger that pops up on the screen, or the incentive to maybe get a gift card if you're lucky? Stay tuned. Oscar is just one part of our much larger sustainability initiative, and you can read more about it in detail in the handout you received. The big picture here is that we have 3 initiatives: Rise, Sustainability, and our Entrepreneurship Initiative, which I'll tell you about in just a moment, that are adding to something of a flywheel effect. Our culture draws great people here. They work with outstanding current faculty to push the institution forward. And that draws more great minds here to Wisconsin who accelerate discovery and ultimately fuel the state's economy. It's a win-win-win, and it's the Wisconsin idea in action. Now, I told you last year about the all-star team I'd appointed to study how we might chart a new direction that fully embraces entrepreneurship as central to our Wisconsin idea mission, I guess I'd say. The goal is to make UW-Madison a premier institution for people who want to pursue entrepreneurship. This is another area where we have opportunities to magnify our already tremendous economic impact on Wisconsin and to move life-changing innovations out into the world. That Entrepreneurship Committee's final report is maybe like Google Earth 360-degree view. Now it's our job to zoom down into street view and determine the best way forward to make our very strong entrepreneurship ecosystem even better and more impactful. And you're going to hear much more about that tomorrow from a terrific panel here at the Regents meeting tomorrow morning that will include several entrepreneurs, as well as Eric Iverson, the CEO of WARF, and Wisconsin School of Business professor John Eckert, who will lead off with an overview of the committee's report. I'm pleased to say that John, whose own scholarship is about entrepreneurship, is also now serving as a one-year special advisor, working closely with me and an array of stakeholders to build out this initiative. So that was the first tree. The second tree is continuing to work to create the conditions for fearless sifting and winnowing. One of the things I value deeply about our big, complicated university and universities like ours is their wonderful plurality. There are very few places on earth where so many different ways of seeing the world, from different disciplines, different perspectives, come together in an intentional way. That can be cacophonous at times, but it's also necessary for the kind of sifting and winnowing that sparks new ways of thinking about problems. Our university must be a place that welcomes all points of view and encourages diversity of thought, as well as diversity of experience, identity, and background. Our university must be a place where people can meet one another with curiosity and respect, and a willingness to listen, even when they heartily disagree. That's challenging, and we're always working, and we need to keep working to improve the environment for speech and debate on campus. We've made progress with new policies on expressive activities and public statements designed to create more spaces and more expectations for engagement across our differences. We've also doubled the size of our deliberation dinners, which I told you about last year, a project that helps students learn to have productive discussions about controversial issues, and which has been enormously well received by the students who come explicitly from a broad range of political backgrounds to this opportunity. And these have been incredibly well received by them, and I'll get to attend another one next month. But I believe we need to do more here in at least 3 ways. First, it's imperative that we regularly have a diversity of viewpoints on our campus, among students and faculty, as well as through invited talks, debates, conversations, and opportunities for engagement. At the same time, it's equally critical for us to make good on our promise that students of all backgrounds, beliefs, and identities can thrive here at UW-Madison. It's a mistake to view diversity through just 1 or 2 lenses. Our pluralistic excellence requires all of these kinds of diversity. Second, we have a responsibility to assess the significant investments we've made over many years in programs to support inclusive excellence and determine where they are working well and where they might be falling short. I have no magic wand, but it's imperative as stewards of this great public university that we set goals and hold ourselves accountable, and that we make changes when things aren't working. We also have a responsibility to further our work on comprehensive outreach, to create opportunities for talented and hardworking students from all corners of our state, our nation, and the world. And third, we need to do still more to prepare our students to become engaged and informed citizens of our complex and sometimes contentious democracy. Not to tell them what to think, but to help them strengthen their ability to work productively, to disagree constructively, and even to find common ground and work together on projects. We have many examples of doing all of these things at UW-Madison, both in our classrooms and beyond. But I would very much like to see us further grow these efforts. And so that's something I hope we can shape and develop further in the year ahead. Third tree, building a 21st century campus. We need a modern state-of-the-art campus that makes it possible for the other trees to thrive. And we've had some major exciting developments this year in this regard. I'm so excited that Morgridge Hall is slated to open in time for the fall semester, next fall. It's going to be a terrific space for learning, researching, and collaborating. And those of you who got the chance to see it on our tours yesterday, I think would all agree. In addition, the Philip A. Levy Engineering Center is going to happen. We announced Marvin Jeff Levy's incredibly generous $75 million gift in September in honor of their late brother, Phil, a proud alum who didn't study engineering. None of Marv, Jeff, and Phil are engineers themselves. But Marv and Jeff and their late brother all understood its importance as a driver of innovation and economic development. We're grateful for their generosity as well as that of other donors. We're grateful to the legislature and the executive branch and all of you around this table and beyond who helped us get to this point with this project. Demolition is set to begin in April. We hope for completion in 2028. And we're $35 million away from our $150 million fundraising goal for this project. Irving and Dorothy Levy Hall Like the engineering building, this project is made possible with state funding along with philanthropy. And like Philip A. Levy Hall, we also have a lead gift, again, from Marv and Jeff Levy, this one in honor of their parents. It's the first new academic building for any humanities departments within the College of Letters and Science in more than 50 years. We broke ground in May, and we hope for completion in 2026. And it's part of our effort to get out of the Mossy Humanities building, and that is central in our capital budget requests for this year, and we very much appreciate the universities of Wisconsin and the Regents' support for those projects. There's also tremendous excitement among our alums and our campus community to start reimagining what that space could be right at the heart of our campus if we're able to move forward, as we very much hope we will be. We also are underway with the Frautschi Center, which will be a wonderful front door to the Lakeshore Nature Preserve and a living laboratory and classroom. It will also be our first net positive building on campus, meaning it will actually send energy to the power grid. We were able to announce the Frautschi's gift in July, and we hope to complete the new building in late 2026. 4 generations of Frautschis hold degrees from this university, and one of their grandchildren is on campus right now. Like the Levies, like the Morgridges, and like so many others, they believe deeply in our mission and have a real love for our campus. We are incredibly fortunate in that way. And I am fortunate. I am incredibly honored to lead this amazing university. We've had a momentous year with a lot of achievements that are building on our excellence and setting the stage for an exciting next chapter. And so what I've wanted to do with you today is to recognize some of those accomplishments, even as I acknowledge that we are operating in a very complicated world of significantly shifting federal priorities that could affect us in a variety of critical ways, some of which I've discussed with you here. And of course, we're also in a state budget process that is unfolding in a moment when we badly need the state to invest in all of the universities of Wisconsin. As you've heard from President Rothman, including just a few minutes ago, the statewide system is 43rd of our 50 states in state investment. We need a strong partnership with our state, and we need strong investment for all that we do across our universities. And I also want to acknowledge my fellow chancellors from all of the universities of Wisconsin who are doing incredible work with limited resources and the need for investment. I haven't even talked about athletics, although some of you heard from Chris McIntosh earlier in the audit subcommittee, but we are in a moment in college athletics that's both unsettled and unsettling, where the environment we operate in tomorrow will look quite different than yesterday. That said, and speaking of athletics, we can certainly give a cheer for the accomplishments of our incredible student athletes, including, to name just one, our once again #1 ranked women's hockey team having an amazing season. And so to conclude, while there is so much to cheer about, from women's hockey to our record high application numbers and our amazing graduation rates, I fully grant that it is not an easy time for higher education. Not here in Wisconsin, not here at UW-Madison, and not anywhere. But UW-Madison has been a jewel of our state for 175, actually now 176 incredible years. And I want the UW-Madison of 7 years from now, the UW-Madison of 17 years from now, and yes, the UW-Madison of 176 years from now, to be even stronger than it is today. And so I dare to hope that some of the trees that we work together to plant today and tomorrow will indeed help make that future possible. Thank you all, and on Wisconsin. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for this chance to talk to you. I think we've got time for a few questions.
Yes.
If there's things you'd like to ask about.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Mnuchin, for that mostly uplifting presentation. We're very grateful, and I think, it's a motivator for all of us in this room and beyond to really advocate for the importance of this university as well as our amazing universities across the state. So thank you very much. And was it Regent Prince? You just had your hand up.
If I can figure out this, I'll be good. Quick comment. I have sat on the other side of this table, and I definitely understand that we don't necessarily like rankings, particularly if they're not favorable to us. But I need you to know that what you just showed is remarkable. It's a great job. It's a strong flagship. And to you and your team, I really want to say thank you. Excellent job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, I really appreciate that. And I mean, of course, we're delighted when rankings help to show our strengths and our success. It's just that some of them, including some of the influential ones, don't always use the data or the focus that we might think makes the most sense. And so I feel like that is important to acknowledge, even when they go in our direction.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the Chancellor? Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate Chancellor Mnuchin, and thank you for hosting us.
Thank you, Regents.
And that concludes our open session. We will now take a brief recess before moving into closed session. Regents, please return to your seats 15 minutes, which is what time, Megan? 2:20-ish. Okay. All right. All right, welcome back, everyone. Vice President Weatherly, are you ready? Will you read the motion to move into closed session?
Absolutely. I move the Board of Regents move into closed session to A, consider personal evaluations of the chancellors as permitted by state statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, and B, confer with legal counsel regarding potential or pending litigation, Gao versus Board of Regents, that's us, of the University of Wisconsin System, et al., Western District, Wisconsin, 25-CV-59, as permitted by 19.85 sub 1 sub G Wisconsin state statutes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Regent Weatherly.
President Bogos, I'd like to say that's the first time I ever heard that read.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Great job.
Yes. Great job, Regent Vice President. Excellent.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
A little applause there. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Megan, please call the roll.
Regent Adams.
Yes.
Regent Adanga.
Yes.
Regent Bogus. Yes. Regent Cologne.
Yes.
Regent Goydam.
Yes.
Regent Cruiser.
Yes.
Regent Menedes.
Yes.
Regent Nixon.
Yes.
Regent Peterson.
Yes.
Regent Prince.
Yes.
Regent Rye.
Yes.
Thank you. Regent Salzwedel.
Yes.
Regent Trainer.
Yes.
Thank you. Regent Tyler.
Here.
Regent Underly.
Yes.
Regent Walsh.
Yep.
And Regent Weatherly.
Yes.
Great, thank you. We will now pause to clear the room for our closed session.